Welcome to another episode of the Concrete Logic Podcast. And today I have a special guest, Richard Williams, Senior Director of Talent for the Eastern U.S. for Baker Construction. I didn't say concrete. I got it right. Inside joke. So Richard is the first Baker employee, current employee to come on the podcast. So I'm excited to have him today. And we're going to talk a little bit about concrete careers. We're going to continue. I don't know if you listened back. We've done a couple episodes of answering questions from Virginia Tech students. We're going to continue that today. Richard's going to handle some of those questions for me. But before we get started, just remind everybody how you can support the podcast. There are 3 things you can do. The first thing is, if you enjoy this episode, please share it with a colleague or a coworker. The second thing you can do is if you go to concretelogicpodcast.com, there are 2 ways you can get a hold of me. There's a link that says contact on the top of the page. If you click that, it's like sending me an email, or you can at the bottom right hand of that same homepage, there's a little microphone. If you click that, that's like sending me a voicemail. And what I'm looking for are topic or guest suggestions for the show, because I want to put episodes out that you want to hear. So please do that. And then the third thing is on the same homepage, if you feel like you get some value out of this episode or any of the episodes, and by the time this comes out, we're over 100 episodes. So if you're listening to the past episode and you're like, man, I really got some value out of that, I want to give some money to the show, there's a donate button on the homepage. You click donate and you can give any amount. Any amount is appreciated. And then when you do donate, you are listed as a producer. Like, I don't know if you pay attention when you're watching a movie, there's in the credits, there's a producer. So you're listed as producer of the Concrete Logic Podcast. So that's what you get when you donate to the show. With that, Richard, who, by the way, I think has the best radio voice of all Baker employees. So I think you're perfect for podcasting, Richard.
First, I wanted to congratulate you on you said over 100 episodes, or getting close to 100 episodes. I remember when you first got this started, and then what you're doing for the concrete construction industry is huge. And so just want to congratulate you on over 100 episodes.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Huge feat.
Yeah. So, Richard is as I mentioned before, he's the Senior Director of Talent for Baker. And we have some questions here from Virginia Tech students that were sent to us in the spring. So we're going to continue that, answering these questions as best as we can, and hopefully these will be helpful for folks that are looking at concrete construction as a career. So Richard, let's go ahead and get right into these questions. So the first question I have here for you is, how important is hands-on experience in concrete construction careers, and what are some ways a fresh graduate can gain practical skills and knowledge in this field?
So I think it is paramount, right? As I view this, we look at what we call like a dual degree, right? One that we're getting from college, and then one in the trenches, right, in the actual field. And so for our co-ops and interns, we like to bring people in and give them hands-on training, right? It truly develops better leaders overall. And what I mean by that is, as a concrete subcontractor, for example, what we would do is have you come in as a working in the field with the carpenters, with the laborers, then moving on to another rotation, which may be in field engineering, line and grade, layout. Another one is supporting the project engineers. maybe pre-construction, and then working in the concrete itself, right? So actually being a finisher, and not that you're going to be proficient at everything that you do there, but it gives you a better understanding, pillars that support our business. It gives you a better understanding of what we do. It gives you a better understanding of our business and what real life would look like. And so while we get the college degree, and that's important, it's also an equally important that we have a degree in the field, right? Where we are earning the respect of the folks that work with us and for us on a daily basis, understanding that we can't lead men and women later on until we understand truly what they do and are willing to do, and be in that same seat with them. So I think it is truly important and equally important that we get both field experience and the college experience.
Yeah, and can you talk a little bit about your own personal experience with that? Like,
Yeah.
as you
So for me, I started off in Houston, Texas, with Baker in the year 2000, so 24 years ago, and immediately I was put into the field. I was put in as a carpenter and worked as a carpenter on the embed crew, doing the Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas, and worked on that for 3 months. The 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 experience that I gained there, from learning to read plans, because I studied civil engineering in school, but learning to read plans, learning to understand how the building actually came together, what we needed to do from excavation and foundation perspective, understanding how to make sure the building was plumb and on grade and level. It was just bringing all of that together for me was tremendous knowledge. But I tell you this, one of the most important things that I gained out of that was the respect for my coworkers. The work that these guys and girls put in every day is tremendous. It is beyond belief. So for me, never worked in concrete construction before, being put into this and kind of thrown in, like, hey, yeah, you're a part of the team. You're not going to be shadowing anyone. You're going to be in the crew, working alongside these guys, understanding the form systems, understanding what we need to do and how we actually place this for success, how to be efficient. It really, really brought a ton of value. But going back to the respect of the guys, those are relationships that I forged 20, 24 years ago that are still with me today. And now that I am in a leadership position, a lot of these folks that I worked with 20, 24 years ago, who have also grown, we've forged such strong bonds and relationships because I was there with them, that it's easier to lead later on, when you come back and ask these folks to follow you, you know. So this is tremendous for me, and I believe in this program of hands-on training for those reasons.
Yeah, and it's this most of the schools that we recruit from. I think it's mandatory for them to do some kind of internship, and while they're going to school. So I think if your school, I'm talking to the audience out there, if you're at a school right now that it isn't mandatory to do an internship, you should make it mandatory for yourself to get that hands-on experience, because you're going to be ahead of your 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 fellow students when you guys graduate. Would it be fair to say, Richard, from a student that, say, graduate with no hands-on experience whatsoever during their college career versus a student that obviously graduated as well, but intermixed into that college career, they took the time to do some internships as well. If you were comparing those two
Yeah, I
students.
think it's leap and bounds, right? Away from someone who does the actual hands-on during your your time in college, and where you come in and do an internship or a co-op. Co-op is an extended internship. And so it's not the summer. You work from summer all the way through winter, and then start back in the spring. But not only that, but it gives you a sense of what you want. So for me, doing civil engineering, I was thinking I was going to go to design, and so I joined a company, and within the first 3 weeks, my first internship, I knew I couldn't do this. Right, design was not for me. I couldn't sit behind the computer every day. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to see things that were tangible, things that I could see, walk away every day knowing that something else tangible was put in place today that I contributed to, right? So after 3 weeks of doing that first internship in design, it was clear to me that that was not the path that I thought it to be, right? So I was heading down the path of design, and until I started my construction career as an intern, is when it all came to me, and I was like, yes, this is where I need to be. This is what I need to end up doing. I wouldn't have had that experience if I'd gone through college and then waited to the very end and said, hey, let me try design, and then realized I didn't like it. And so it is one of the things that I tell students all the time. One of the most important things that you can do is to be able to secure that internship with a either design or construction or whatever you want to do or think you want to do, be able to do that and have that opportunity to be able to navigate and go, you know what, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what drives me. But it gives you that opportunity, and you have usually four opportunities in your college career to make this happen. And so I strongly advise students out there to take an internship to get a sense of what the day-to-day life looks like in the role or career that you believe you want to enter into.
All right. Well, let's move on to another question. I think this is an easy one. Is the demand for concrete construction professionals growing?
Not only is it growing, we can't keep up with the demand that's out there. We are one of our major things. We are a people business, okay? And one of the major things and areas that I focus on in my role now is recruitment and attracting individuals. And the demand outweighs what the supply is, right? And so we are truly focused on bringing in more people into the industry, younger folks into the industry. We have an aging workforce. It is something that is on the minds of every person in concrete construction or construction as a whole, bringing that new generation in and integrating that new generation. So huge demand for people. And one may think, it's construction is the same thing over and over. Well, I'll tell you this. I've been doing this for 24 years, and not any one day is the same as the day before. It's always different challenges, innovation, technology. There's so many things happening in our industry. It just is amazing at what's happening. And so we need to be able to focus on that new generation coming in to bring it in. But there's huge demand for space in the construction industry.
All right. And then the last question here this was all from one student. Are there specific certifications or training programs that engineers should consider pursuing to enhance their qualifications and competitiveness in concrete construction?
So yes, while it is important and very important to have certifications, you can join your local chapter ACI. You can develop a whole bunch of information, read a lot, be able to get the certifications. But where it truly matters is what I go back to initially, which was, yes, get that college degree, get your certifications, but you absolutely need the hands-on training to bring it all together as a whole. Will those certifications help you? Yes, it will. But what will go a far further way is your knowledge in the field, being able to work with teams and being able to understand how to navigate and make our industry even more efficient than it is right now.
Yeah, I would definitely say double. Uh, I I would say that focus on getting when you're first starting your career, focus on getting on the field experience, and don't worry about getting any more certifications or degrees or anything initially, and just go out there and focus on getting as much exposure to what's going on out at the job site, out in the field, and
Yeah,
make that.
and yeah, and again, it's really just even joining the local chapters of whatever, the ABC, the ACI, things like that, just to have an understanding and networking with people so that you are you have that understanding. When I was in college, I did the concrete canoe competition, and that was huge for me, right? Not only from a networking perspective, but it started to give me the sense of understanding the behavior of concrete, right, as I was getting into my career. So this is the focus is not on get all the certifications. It's good to have those just to know and network and do whatever. But where it truly matters is the experience you're going to get in the field.
All right, let's move on to this one. It was a two-parter. I think we already talked about the second part of this, so we'll just focus on the first part. What technological advancements or innovations are shaping the future of concrete construction, and how are they impacting job roles and requirements?
So in construction, it's a unique industry, right? We work ourselves out of a job, and what I mean by that is we're always working against the schedule. And so one of the things that we look at is driving efficiency and productivities. We focus on that as managers in the field. And with the new technologies, and there are tons of them coming out all the time, there's a technology where it's virtually walking the job. So you walk the job with a GoPro camera on your hard hat, and it's doing as builds for you. Well, what that helps us to do is focus on what we do really well, which is building buildings, and not necessarily focused on documenting everything, because the camera is doing that through open space, through other different software companies. It's helping us to do that, right? Uh, there's 3D printing, there are drones, there are different various cameras that we put on cranes that assist with safety. These things are all enhancements, I believe. It it does not and has not impacted in terms of loss of jobs. As I told you before, the demand is as high as it has ever been in terms of bringing people in.
Yeah, and I would also say, um, sorry, I was reading through a lot of these questions are related to this, that we received. There seems to be a lot of concerns of technology advances and how that's impacting concrete construction. I don't, are you hearing when you talking to folks that are coming in the industry, are you hearing that often? I was just reading through all these questions, and it seems like there's a concern that there's I don't know, elimination or of jobs or
So,
roles, or is that
so
a
I'm not hearing that widespread, but I
yeah,
do hear it from time to time that, hey, will this eliminate my job? Right.
yeah.
And I say no all the time, right? It really does kind of enhances. If we can put probes into concrete, wireless sensors, and it can help us to eliminate any testing delays that we have. That makes us more efficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And drives us to what I initially said, which is working ourselves out of that job, working against the schedule. And it just brings it in to make that project more efficient, make the project more efficient from a time perspective. That allows us to move on to the next one and the next one, and reduce any delays, uh, any rework, and so forth. So I think the technology here, we embrace it, and it's ever changing on a daily basis, but does not affect our coworkers.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, like you said, it's enhancing, it's making you as an individual more productive, at least the technologies that I think you're getting at. So you just got to look at it this way. We're able to do more work with that same person versus replacing that person. Does
Yeah,
that?
no, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
if you think back, and I'm going to date myself here, when we would get drawings, and it literally was blueprint drawings, and you would get a roll of drawings, which was an update to your drawings that you were working on. You literally physically would have to remove all of them and slip sheet by putting in new sheets in every single drawing. And that would take me, back when I was doing it, hours, right? Sometimes it would take me a day, depending on the size of the drawings that came in. That's way beyond, we're way beyond that now. And we're finding that the time used or spent to do that is now being used to do something more productive, right? And so the technology and the enhancement of technology goes hand in hand with what we're doing, and thus drives efficiency.
All right. The next two questions are very similar as well. So I'll just pick this one. In the concrete construction industry, what would a typical career path look like for someone coming out of college who had an interest in working for a large concrete company?
So there are hundreds of roles, right, in the concrete construction industry. But let me narrow it down to two in terms of path that we could take. You could either go the field in operations, meaning take the side of superintendent. So you would start off as a foreman, work yourself up to like a assistant superintendent, and superintendent, then all the way up to construction manager, then operations manager. Or you could take a path of the project management side. So starting off as a field project engineer, moving on to a project engineer or assistant project manager. Then you go to PM, senior PM, construction manager, and then it falls right back to like operations manager. So you can take either path. Those are the two major paths that are available. But outside of that, there's BIM, there's formwork engineering, there's safety. There is so many different paths that you can take. But the two major ones coming out of college, especially for students studying civil engineering or construction management, it would be either you go to the field, take the superintendent route, or you do more of an office management, which is the project management route. But again, as I said, there are hundreds of different roles that support roles for what we do on a daily basis.
And can you talk about, because I personally experienced this, I think you did too, that the path you pick initially doesn't, it's not it's not set in concrete. How's that?
Yeah.
So can you talk about, like, I know here at Baker, there are people jumping, I would say a lateral movement between different roles or paths. So can you talk about a little bit about that and your personal experience with that? Because
Yeah,
I don't.
so at Baker, we have a program developed here. We call it the 5 quarters program, right? And a quarter means 3 months, 3 months of a year. And so it's a rotational based program that's dedicated to developing our people. And it's specific to college students. What it does, it's like what I said earlier, is that it gives us the major pillars of what we do and gives you a little bit of experience, 3 months at a time, in each pillar, right? And then what that allows you to do is then help you to develop, or to at least steer you into what direction you would want to go. And so it gives you exposure to our BIM department. It gives you exposure to safety. It gives you exposure to what a superintendent would do, what a project manager would do, what a field engineer would do. And it gives you the pillars, the foundation that allows us to expand on that. So I went through that 20, 24 years ago, where I was in the field. As I said, I started off as a carpenter, working alongside the carpenters, did field engineering, did a little pre-construction and estimating. Um, and then when I got to project engineering or assistant project manager, being in the trailer with my project manager, is where I found my calling. Right, I was like, wow, this is huge. This is what I want to do, and this is a career I know. It just became so clear to me. But it didn't negate any of what else I learned, right? Because all those things were just kind of brought into the same fold and allowed me to just have a comprehensive look at what the industry looks like, and then gave me a better sense as to the path that I could move forward, which I chose at the time to go through project management. Some of you may be asking, then, but you're in talent now. And so, yeah, so for 19 years, I worked, started off as a project engineer and worked my way across the country and worked my way up to an operations manager. And then 5 years ago, was asked to oversee people, and I took that on as my current role right now. So started off, and which is why I say every day is a different experience in concrete construction. No way would I have ever thought that I would be where I am today when I first started, right? It just goes in many, many different ways. And as we look through and look back at things, we didn't have a BIM department before, right? And now we are, that's one of our major departments that we have, right? And so that just came out with the technology and the support of the technology that we have to make us more efficient, right? We are creating questions before we even build the building. So it's like we're building the building on the computer before we actually build it in real life to work out any issues that may come up and ask the appropriate questions. So that is something that just came about, at least for Baker within the last decade, and allows us to be more efficient. But when people, and there are people that work in that department now that started off as project managers who then flipped over to that. And so there are so many different ways to go, but having a well-rounded base, understanding where the different paths that you can take through what we call our 5 quarters program, absolutely enhances and allows us to make those critical decisions. Now, you may think, just like me, oh yeah, I'm going to start off as a project engineer, I'll be a PM, and then you end up in talent. But again, it's so dynamic, it's always changing, and yeah, you never know where you'll end up.
Yeah, but that again, going back and kind of harping on it for the last almost 30 minutes here is again the field experience and how that contributes to your current role. It still helps you be successful in what role you're in today, right?
Absolutely. Understanding by doing, because I've done those things. I understand that I have been in the shoes of many different roles within our company. It gives me a better sense of the needs and wants and career development of our people, and it puts me in a great position to be able to be successful in terms of building and developing our people, because I've done it and I've lived it and I've been in it myself. And so there's nothing looking back that I can say I regret from a standpoint of learning, being in the field and understanding what we do on a daily basis. It's huge.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, this, what I'm going to do today, it sucks. It's terrible. It's hard work. I don't want to do it. You got to think about, and I know it's hard because I was there too, about, what's my career going to look like in 20 years? You're not going to be doing what you're doing today. If you gain that experience like Richard's telling you, and you work your way up, you'll be, I won't say rewarded, but people appreciate the your experience when you're slinging mud all day, or you're out project engineers working 50, 60 hours a week, doing submittals or whatever. All that builds up to, a very, I would say, rewarding career as get to our age, Richard.
Yeah, no, but I look back and I still miss being in the field. Now I try to get out as much as I can to be in the field, but one of the things that I would look forward to is when we had major concrete pours. Just being able to set the logistics up. Where does the pump go? Where does the trucks go? How are we going to start pouring? What rate of pour? I mean, that to me was just like the Super Bowl, right? It was huge. It was huge at that time, that just pulling all of that stuff together and then seeing how it works, right? Bringing in hundreds of people and thousands of yards of concrete and then leaving something tangible that will last for 50, 60, 70 years, right? Something that you can look back to your children and go, I had a hand in this. I helped to build this. I mean, that's why we all do what we do and what drives us in this industry. So yes, do I miss some of this stuff that I did in the field? Absolutely. The smell of the diesel, just love it. The concrete pumps. I'm driven by those things. I'm a true concrete person inside out. But I can use that passion and help to develop our people from a perspective of co-ops or interns or young college students coming into our industry, to be able to share stories and speak to them and get them pumped as I am about our industry.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's a perfect spot to end our conversation today, Richard. If folks want to reach out to you, what's the best way to reach out?
So the best way would be through email. It's williamsrgf@bakerconcrete.com is probably the best way. And then I'll reach back out to you guys and connect. I'm also on LinkedIn, Richard G. Williams. And so you can get me there also.
Okay. Yeah. I'll put that in the show notes when we send out the podcast. Richard, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. And folks, until next time, let's keep it concrete.
Thank you.